Bitcoin continues its bullish moves this week as it flirts with all-time highs again today, which leads some to suggest we might even hit $100,000 before Trump's inauguration in January. Institutions are piling in, MicroStrategy is set to begin their daily 3-year $42 billion buy plan soon, and Chinese state TV is reporting on Trump's plans for a US strategic Bitcoin reserve. Could we be looking at nation-state FOMO as a real possibility this cycle? The Bitcoin price is once again showing incredible strength as it climbs to new all-time highs again today, and at the time of recording sits just above $76,000 per coin. This is clearly a new era of Bitcoin adoption which we've entered post-election. And so today I'd like to go over why, even at the current price, we likely haven't seen anything yet. Chinese state TV reported on the Trump victory today and even mentioned his plans to create a strategic Bitcoin reserve. The following clip has been translated using AI.
Bitcoin's price soared to a record high. Data shows that the world's largest cryptocurrency by market capitalization, Bitcoin, briefly reached a trading price of $75,000 on the 6th, marking a new all-time high with an increase of over 8%. According to multiple media reports, Trump promised to make the United States the world capital of Bitcoin and to establish a strategic Bitcoin reserve that day.
The game theory of Bitcoin is playing out right before our eyes, and it's remarkable to behold. All eyes are on the Trump presidency after he laid out his plans in the campaign to make the US the Bitcoin capital of the world, and even to implement the proposal of a strategic Bitcoin stockpile for the nation. If this ends up becoming a reality, it could start major nation-state FOMO, with the likes of China, Russia, the EU, and more scrambling to either front-run the US or buy alongside the superpower in order to not get left behind. Mainstream media in the US is also reporting on the incredibly bullish Bitcoin setup, with CNBC reporting yesterday that Bitcoin could hit $100,000 by Trump's inauguration in January.
Joe, to get to every asset class that is rallying hard today, Bitcoin certainly among them. Take a look, almost 75,000. As investors are betting on a friendlier environment for that industry under a second Trump administration. Mackenzie Sigalos is following that story for us. Mackenzie.
Hey, Scott. Bitcoin briefly surging to a new record high as investors bet that Donald Trump will deliver on his pro-crypto promises, especially with a Republican-controlled Senate behind him and after getting more than $25 million from crypto donors. Now, Trump's main pledge is to fire SEC Chair Gary Gensler, who's brought more than 100 enforcement actions against industry leaders like Coinbase and Robinhood. Those stocks are pumping 25% and 17% respectively today, with Robinhood on pace for its best day in over 2 years. Bitcoin miners are also getting a boost this morning, with Trump having promised on the campaign trail that all future Bitcoin will be mined in the U.S. Marathon, Riot, and Bit Digital are all trading up more than 14% and driving small caps higher as well. Now, in terms of the market outlook, multiple analysts are expecting Bitcoin will hit $100,000 before Trump's inauguration, especially if he delivers on promises like launching a strategic national crypto stockpile with the $15 billion worth of Bitcoin that it already has on its books from asset seizures. And Scott, Bitcoin now up 68% year to date after briefly hitting that new all-time high overnight.
And institutions seem to be the ones overwhelmingly buying into this Bitcoin rally, as ETF flow numbers have been extremely strong. This chart shows Bitcoin's Coinbase premium, which surged to a 7-month high. This index tracks the price difference of Bitcoin on Coinbase versus Binance, signaling increased buying pressure from US institutions, since they all use Coinbase for their buys. Bloomberg's senior ETF analyst Eric Balchunas posted this on X today. Flowmageddon. A Trump-inspired gusher of cash is flowing into risk-on ETFs. Plus 22 billion in one day is absurd. That's normally a good week. Year-to-date net flows are now plus 856 billion, 55 billion away from a record. And the rolling 1 year has surpassed 1 trillion. I have a feeling that T for trillion will be there for a while. Kevin O'Leary was on CNN also talking about the momentum of Bitcoin following Trump's victory.
What went through your head? And then you start to see the markets surge and that immediate reaction.
First market I saw move was Bitcoin, actually, because it trades 24/7.
Yeah.
We started to see that just after midnight. And by the way, Aaron, I just always preface my comments. I don't shill for politicians. I shill for policy.
Right.
And so I'm looking for pro-business policy. So when I saw Bitcoin moving, a lot of that coming from Asia, those markets and the Middle East, those markets were already watching you probably and other outlets that they can feed there, deciding this county information is getting interesting, and Bitcoin was a huge winner.
So all signs point to us being incredibly early in a monumental Bitcoin rally that reaches well into 2025 and potentially beyond. If you look at where we are in this cycle compared to previous cycles in 2017 and 2021, we are right on track for a very bullish few months ahead. It's also interesting to zoom out and note where the Bitcoin price was the last time Donald Trump was elected president in 2016. At the time of his 2016 win, Bitcoin was at around $700, which, fast forward to today, is an increase of a whopping 10,000%. So to recap, the Fed has started cutting rates into a strong economy. We will be seeing a pro-Bitcoin president and Congress sworn in the new year, which means a real potential for a strategic Bitcoin reserve, in which they have proposed buying 550 Bitcoin per day for 5 years to reach 1 million Bitcoin. Saylor and MicroStrategy are set to buy $38 million in Bitcoin per day for the next 3 years, and the ETFs are currently buying 3,000 to 5,000 Bitcoin per day. You don't need to be a rocket scientist to know what happens next. To give you a pretty clear idea of how undervalued Bitcoin is here, Nvidia's market cap priced in Bitcoin works out to around 50 million Bitcoin. The fact that there are only 21 million Bitcoin that will ever exist tells you the world needs to reprice Bitcoin magnitudes higher. I'll leave you today with this fire post on X by Stack Hodler. You're about to witness something no human in history has ever seen before. What happens when near infinite demand meets a finite good? Bitcoin is humanity's first finite store of value. No matter how much demand there is for it, you cannot create more. The only way to satisfy demand is to increase the price to levels that convince people to sell. But it gets much harder to convince people to sell when major nation states start stacking, or when it becomes possible to reliably borrow against your Bitcoin through institutions like Cantor Fitzgerald, or hedge your stack via reputable options markets. All of this could be reality within the next 6 months. We are on the cusp of a new era for Bitcoin. Trump ran on the promise of establishing a strategic Bitcoin reserve, and there are multiple people within the government that want the United States to acquire a dominant Bitcoin position as a counter to the brick stacking gold. Trump has openly discussed using Bitcoin as a way to escape the $36 trillion mountain of debt. 2 things are certain. 1, if the US starts stacking, every other country will be forced to follow. 2, when that happens, all of the price models and chart squiggles in the world are suddenly irrelevant. The gold market cap of $17.5 trillion is an obvious target. That's $850,000 per coin. But even that's merely a waypoint on a much bigger journey. Why? Because Bitcoin serves the same purpose that gold served for thousands of years. But it's vastly superior in so many ways. The iPhone and the rotary phone are both technically a phone, right? But the iPhone is clearly far more valuable in today's world. Similarly, Bitcoin and gold are both technically hard money stores of value, but one is native to the digital world, finite, and can be sent across the world at the speed of light, while the other one inflates at 2% per year, needs to be melted down to be verified, and requires a plane to get across the world. Gold isn't an enemy of Bitcoin. It's a precursor to Bitcoin. Nation states ditching sovereign debt in favor of gold is proof that the world needs a non-sovereign store of value. All you have to do next is look at the trajectory of Bitcoin to see where this is headed. Everything is set up for Bitcoin to emerge as the premier store of value for individuals, corporations, nation states, pension funds, and literally anyone else that needs to store value. So you might want to get a little before it's still below $0.5 million a coin. So it's time to front run this new era of Bitcoin adoption with Swan. Visit swan.com or download the app by searching Swan Bitcoin in the App Store. We have the easiest onboarding experience in the industry. You go from sign up to buying Bitcoin in less than a quarter of the time it took you to watch this video. Plus, you get the first $10,000 in Bitcoin purchases with 0 fees. So visit swan.com to start your Bitcoin journey now. That's it for today. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video and share it with your friends and family. And of course, subscribe to the channel for more high signal Bitcoin content. Thanks for watching, and remember, TikTok next block.